Hi there everyone, this is Ashley with Marshflower Studio. In this video I am going to be making a little cactus friend, and I posted a video of just kind of showing this guy off, and I had so many people that told me they just absolutely were in love with it, and a lot of people that were asking if I would show you guys how to make it. So that's what I'm going to do today. It's a very simple pattern, okay? It's something you can do even if you're a beginner. There's nothing super hard about this guy. And I'm sure right now if you haven't seen the other video, you're probably wondering why this cactus is so special. So I've got my cute little metal pot for him. And you pull him out and he's got a happy little face. Okay, so he's got his little arms, got some little feet down here, happy smile. But you turn him over and he's got a butt. Because, you know, who doesn't love that? So, like I said, super easy. We're going to let this guy chill right there for a few minutes. The yarn that I'm using is this velvety smooth in the color Spa. I just thought this would be a nice fun yarn to use with a cactus because, you know, cactuses are prickly and this is super soft. But I like the color for this and it works really well. So we've got that for the main part of our cactus. The flower on this guy, I use just a regular number 4 worsted weight yarn in hot pink, and as part of the Red Heart with Love group. So that's what I used for that flower. For the video on how to make him, I'm actually going to change to this lighter pink just because I don't typically repeat stuff that's perfectly identical. I like to change something every time I make them just so that they're all unique and special. So I'll be using this lighter pink for the flower in the video. All right, so also I've got my 4mm hook. Typically with this yarn I use the 5mm, but because it was going to be a cactus that was fairly well stuffed, I did the 4 just so that those stitches would be a lot tighter and you wouldn't see any of that stuffing showing through, because you do have to stuff these pretty well to be able to get that little butt crack shape in there. So that being said, we'll get started. Let me get some of this pulled out. And this is something that you can totally scale with any kind of yarn, any hook. Completely up to you if you want to use the thicker, you know, bulky weight yarn. You can do that. Just make sure you use a hook size that's accordingly, you know, to work out. And it's something that you can totally scale on your own if you need like an overall bigger cactus, because it's just a tube, right? So those add-ons at the end are what make it the cute little fun thing that it is. All right, so we're going to start with 6 single crochets in our magic circle. 5, 6. If you can hear my tiny tornadoes in the background, they're super talkative this morning. All right, our next row is going to be the 6 increases. So 12 stitches total. So 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12. All right, and we're gonna have our increase in single crochet row. So we'll take our row count out to 18. So there's 1 and 2, and then 3, 4 and 5, and 6, 7 and 8, and then 9, 10 and 11, and 12, 13 and 14, 15, 16, 17, and then 18. This is one of those yarns where almost no matter how much you use pulling from the middle, it always kind of grips and makes it harder to pull. Okay, so our last increase row, if you're following the size for this guy, we're gonna have our increase and then 2 single crochets. So we'll take our stitch count out to 24. All right, so there's 1 and 2, and then 3, 4, 5 and 6, and 7, 8, 9 and 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and then 23, 24. All right, so we do want to make sure that we pull the top of this so it's not going to come undone. With this particular yarn, if you've worked with it before, you know that you can pull it too hard and it will break off. We don't want to do that. So just make sure you pull it tight enough that you're sure it's going to stay closed. And then we'll use this tail to tie off the bottom at the end. From here, if you want a just overall bigger cactus without going bigger in yarn, you can just increase the number of increase rows, and then you'll increase the number of just single crochet rows. Okay, it's not super hard math. If you are stopping at this point, we're gonna have 15 rows of just single crochet, and that is just how this guy fit in my pot. So if you want to do this, I would kind of recommend getting a pot already, and then it'll help you kind of determine how big your cactus needs to be. I've done a lot of little cactus succulent plants. So I had a bunch of these little pots already sitting on my shelf waiting. So I used what I had handy, but you can always just make your little cactus friend here and then take it to your local garden center and find a pot that fits. You might get a few weird looks, but it's just because they're jealous, right? I can hear my daughter singing one of the Frozen 2 songs in there along with the movie. I gotta get this little tangle knot undone. I love this yarn, but sometimes it's frustrating to work with. So if you want to make an overall just bigger cactus, I would recommend for every row that you increase, you add 2 more rows to the length. So if you added 1 row and took your stitch count out to 30, instead of 15 single crochet rows, you would have 17. And you could add little spikes to your cactus here. I use just a sewing thread that is on the stiffer side. And I just go and tie it around some of the stitches and then cut them so that they look like little cactus needles. You could make the, I forget what they're called right now, the little arms for the cactuses that have the other pieces that come out and grow upwards. My little tornadoes. Oh, having fun. If something makes noise, they're going to figure out how to get it to make noise. Let's see how many rows we have so far. I've got 6, 12, 18, 24. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right, so just a few more rows. And then we'll close up the bottom. Make his little butt crack. Add those arms and legs. So close to being done. Let me see. 6, 12, 18, 24. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. All right, so I did 16. I miscounted. Again, this is one of those projects where if you do an extra row, it's not going to hurt anything. If you do one less row, it's not going to hurt anything. At this point, we do need to give him some eyes if you're doing a face before we start closing up the bottom here. And I wish I could tell you what size eyes that I have used, but I get these boxes of mixed sizes, and it doesn't tell you what each individual one is. Get the backs here. Let's see. I do have a ruler handy. Let's see if we can figure it out that way. So it's maybe a 10 millimeter. Okay. All right, so we're gonna just pop these in and then kind of make sure that they are in a good spot for going in our little box here. So those are a little lower than the ones I did for the other guy, but I want to make sure that they're not going to show once this guy is in his little pot. So I think I can raise these up. All right, so let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Between 14 and 15 for this guy. But there again, you may want to change that depending on the size of your pot or the size of your cactus if you're making it bigger. So I like where these guys are. So I'm going to pop the backs on here. All right. And then we're going to start decreasing to close in the bottom. So I'm going to do 2 single crochets and a decrease, and that'll take us down to 18 stitches for the row. That's 3, 4, 5, we'll decrease on 6, 7, 8, decrease on 9, 10, 11, decrease on 12, 13, 14, decrease for 15, and then 16, 17, and decrease for 18. All right. So then I'm going to put a little bit of stuffing, just to get it mostly full. Again, you want it to be fairly full and tight in there because that'll actually give you something to work with to create that butt cheek effect. All right, our next row is just a single crochet and decrease. I'm taking us down to 12. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. All right. So I'm going to finish stuffing. I don't like to do this very last bit until I just can't not do it, because I always end up pulling some of the stuffing through the stitches, and then it's a pain to try to get out later. So like I said, nice and firm. We're going to do 6 decreases just to finish this in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Oop. Okay. So I want to pull a little bit of a tail out here. Oops. Cactus is showing his butt. And I'm going to do an invisible finish with this bottom here before I create the butt cheeks. All right, so if you've never done an invisible finish, super easy. You're going from the outside towards the inside under the front loop only of those last stitches. I do that all the way around. Pull it tight. Get that starting tail pulled through. I'm not going to tie it yet because I'm going to make his butt cheeks with this finishing tail. Okay, so the part that you just finished doing the invisible finish on is the bottom of your cactus, and you're going to want to flip him over so that his eyes are facing straight down. I'm going to go up through the middle, and we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, between 8 and 9 rows up the back. And we're going to pull that tight to kind of create those little booty cheeks. I'm going to do that 2 times, just right through the same spot. And then we're going to tie that starting tail with our finishing tail. That'll help hold his little butt cheeks in place. Okay, so then we'll take and tuck those tails up inside our piece in just a minute. We can give him a little smile. So I've got my yarn hook, not my yarn hook, my yarn needle. I haven't had my caffeine yet today. And anywhere you want to pop just one of those little half or partial triangle smiles. Just 2 little lines. Create that little happy happy V shape. Pulled that a little tight when I was making my knot. There we go. But we'll tuck that in as well. Use our yarn needle to make sure that that stands out and we can see that happy little grin. We'll trim the tails off all together. And we've got to do the flower and the arms and legs. All right, so our flower, we're going to have our magic circle. And we're going to start with a chain 2. And all of this is going into the magic circle. Okay, so we're going to do 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. We're going to do a chain 2, and we're going to slip stitch back into the magic circle. Okay, and we're just going to repeat that. So you're going to do that 5 times. So chain 2, 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, chain 2, slip stitch into the circle. Chain 2, 3 double crochets, chain 2, slip stitch into the circle. Chain 2, 3 double crochets, chain 2, and slip stitch into the circle. Alright, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4. I need one more petal here. So chain 2, 3 double crochets, chain 2, and slip stitch into the magic circle. All right, so we will pull off a little bit of a tail so we can sew this guy to the top of our cactus or the side of our cactus or wherever we want it to go. We'll pull our circle closed here, and again, be careful you don't pull so hard that you end up breaking your yarn in the process. So usually your, acrylic number 4 yarn is pretty sturdy, but if you are using a different kind, be careful. All right, so we'll pick a spot, and we're just gonna sew this flower. We'll put this one over here. So I'm just going under some of the stitches on these top rows. And then I like to go down through the middle and come out under one of the other petals. Oop. And go up through the petal. And then we'll go down through the middle again and under a different petal. It just makes it a little more secure. One of my daughter's schools, the lady that works at the front desk had real plants on the desk, and between my daughter pulling them off to look at them, and I'm sure others pulling it off as well, I was like, how about we get you a fake one? Let's get a fake cactus to put up here so they stop torturing these real plants. So now they've got crochet cactus sitting up front. And it's also in one of these little metal pots, so that if they pull it off the counter, it's not going to break. Obviously, you guys know the crochet part's not going to break if it gets knocked in the floor. So it's just a much more child-friendly plant to have when you've got little kids running around that want to touch everything and see everything. These need to get tucked up inside before they get trimmed off. Okay, so that's our main body. We've got our butt cheeks, we've got our flower. The only other thing left to do is the arms and the legs. And essentially, they're all the same for the most part. So we're going to do a magic circle with 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pull that closed. And then we're going to have 6 single crochets for the next row. And 6 single crochets again. All right, so for the feet, you would just fasten off here and then sew them to the bottom. So do 2 of those and just sew them straight to the bottom there. For the arms, it worked out better for me if I do a little slip stitch and then do 2 kind of single crochets to close those 2 pieces together. So it gives it just a little bit more length to the arm. And then we'll sew that right on that row right below the eye. Just like that. So that is our happy little butt cheek cactus. I hope you guys enjoy making lots and lots and lots of these. I've had several people reach out and ask if they can order one already. And I was like, oh my goodness, I've only made the one. But it's just one of those things that's super cute and super sassy. And, you know, you have this pretty little cactus sitting on your desk or your table or in your windowsill. And if somebody happens to get on your nerves or you're just feeling like you're in a sassy mood, you can pop him up and just prop his butt cheeks out. Give you a little giggle. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you like the little cactus, make sure you hit that like button. If you have not subscribed already, make sure you subscribe so you can see other videos like this when they get posted. You'll get notifications about those. Make sure you check out videos that are already posted and out there. There is a ridiculous number of really cool things that you can make, and none of them take a ton of time. They're all fairly easy to make. None of them require, you know, advanced superhuman crochet abilities to make. But happy hooking, crochet nerds.